I try a lot of time. I think if I tell you I try 50 times, you cannot believe me. I try every day. If we join to UK, it's good. If we not join to UK, we try by swimming.
The number of people attempting to cross the Channel from France to the UK in small boats seeking asylum is at a record high. We travelled along the southern British coast and across the Channel to Calais to meet some of the people who want to make this dangerous journey and to hear from those who want to stop them.
Yeah, I lost my family in Afghanistan.
What happened to them?
And Taliban killed them, my whole family. I have only one small brother in Afghanistan.
Did you have other brothers and sisters?
Unfortunately, Taliban also killed them.
Abbas has an uncle living in the UK, and if the 16-year-old survives the dangerous journey across the Channel, he will be one of the many unaccompanied children who arrive, traumatised from their journey.
We don't tend to ask the young people we work with direct questions about their journeys because they're often traumatic. And unless you're psychologically qualified, when you're starting to ask direct questions, what you're doing is unpacking a lot of trauma, and you need to be able to deal with that. But young people do open up to us and tell us about their journeys, and they say that when they got to the dinghy they saw the size of it, how small it was, and the number of people that were going to get in, and they decided they weren't going to do it, but they were told they had to get in. They were forced into the boats and they were scared. They thought they were going to die. So they're often extremely traumatised when they get here.
This was a vessel that was actually launched in northern France, just up from Dunkirk, just before the Belgian border. In total, there were 10 migrants on this vessel. It was actually mid-channel and it had engine problems, and the Border Force patrol boat rescued the vessel and brought it into the closest port, which was Ramsgate at the time. This particular part of the channel, tidal shift is into the North Sea, so very little hope of rescue and recovery there. So it shows the dangers, and the size of that fuel tank clearly inadequate to get a boat that's overloaded across from that distance over to the UK. Once they've set sail from France, the primary aim is to enter UK territorial waters, and upon entering UK territorial waters, that is seen as the opportunity then to look to be rescued by UK patrol boats. Up to that point, they will resist any offer of search and rescue, which is provided by French colleagues. French colleagues will try to persuade them however possible, but they cannot arrest or force them to come off the boat. And once they're in the UK waters and they recognise that it's a UK vessel, and because of the search and rescue requirements will be brought into a UK port, then they generally will accept the option of being rescued and brought in.
I was at home. It was in the middle of lockdown, and one of our colleagues on the boat is also in the Coast Guards, and he was outside my house. I live up on the cliff up in Fairlight, and he was observing the fact that the frigate was coming across with migrants, and he said, "I think it might be an idea that we get ready. We might be used." So we came down, opened up the boathouse, and got a crew ready just in case. The rib that migrants were using was not, shall we say, brand spanking new. We took on the tow from Hastings, and really the only way to bring them back ashore was to put a line around their engine and bring them stern in first.
So when you approached their boat, had they been taken on water? What was it like on the boat?
They had been taken on water. Yeah, they've all got sort of homemade bailers made out of sort of gallon cans or plastic bottles. They were obviously wet. They'd been in the boat for 10 hours. It's approximately 30-mile trip. The boat was only doing 5 or 6 knots, which is about 6-7 miles an hour. And with 15 people on board, it's going to be a long journey. It must be so scary for them when you see some of these container vessels and oil tankers bearing down on them. They can't stop. I'd hate to think how many people haven't made it across, because I'm sure there must be some that haven't. They must be in desperate straits to actually do what they're doing.
Tell me a little bit about what the situation was like in your home country and why you decided to leave.
You mean in my country? Yes, in my country, you had bad government, since colonialism stopped in Sudan, so that we UK, because still education system since they left, since years, and all governments came bad. You can imagine army when being in your country, how and what they will do. All of us here victims of that, Yes, some regions like Darfur, like south of Kordofan, and politics. You have to be with regime or against. Just choices. If you are against, you will see bad situation, and they die, be prison, lose everything. Yes, we struggle there, but finally we give up, to leave, not easy to leave your place, your hometown, your family, but life sometimes forcing you to be far, or to be safe in somewhere.
And what is life like here?
No life here. We're trying to live. It's hard situation, hard condition, hard deal. They don't welcoming us, so we feel like strange, or like no one wants you.
In recent weeks, French police have begun clearing any areas where migrants have set up camp. This makes it impossible for them to have any stability and increases the mental stress of already difficult living conditions. We were in a camp when police arrived to clear it and were quickly escorted out. After forcing the migrants to move their tents and sleeping bags to the edge of the waste ground where they're staying, the police left the area and the migrants swiftly returned. It is a bizarre pantomime of enforcement that does nothing to address the problem.
So at the moment there's no legal way for genuine refugees to claim asylum within the UK?
Well, they can claim asylum in the first safe country they reach, but by the time they get to French shores, it's too late. They should have claimed asylum in France is a safe country. It is a very safe country. Germany is a safe country. Greece is a safe country. We've got to stop the people smugglers, that's the thing. They're promising the earth to these people, taking their money and risking their lives. Look, people are coming across in dinghies, pregnant women, children. The way these people are treated by these people smugglers, they're just money for them. There's no humanity there.
Do you worry though that by focusing on economic migrants that people begin to assume, the public consciousness begins to assume that everyone who's trying to cross the channel is an economic migrant?
Yes, and I think that is an issue. It is. It's absolutely an issue.
So
but you also have to ask yourself that if people are genuinely seeking refuge, they would seek it in the first safe country they come to. Britain is not on the top list for migrants. We're something like number 8 down the list. So we're not the only country that are having issues with this migration problem. It is a Europe-wide issue.
The fact is that a great many refugees do claim asylum in France. If you look at France as a whole, there are refugees all over France claiming asylum. The thing is that the bit we always look at is Calais, and Calais is one small town in France. So yes, there are a lot of refugees here trying to get to the UK, but all over the rest of France there are a great many refugees who settle here. In fact, France takes generally 4 times as many refugees as the UK every year. The ones who come here, the ones who are trying to get to the UK, they have a really strong reason for doing so, because you don't come here and live like this. You don't risk your life on these terrifying journeys unless you have a strong reason for doing so. And the types of reasons that we hear are if they have family in the UK, that is a very strong reason. If they have friends or connections to the UK, for example, if they know the language, if you had somebody who worked for the British Army in Afghanistan, if you have a community tie, so a lot of the Sudanese, for example, might have gone to an English school and learnt about English history. They have a strong tie to the UK and that's where they want to go. But there has to be a real reason for it, and by no means does all refugees want to go to the UK. It's only 3% of refugees in Europe that try and get to the UK.
The current situation is, I think it will remain challenging. I think currently with the departure from the EU looming, I think there is a misapprehension that they need to try and get into the UK before we leave the EU, and that's certainly a marketing ploy from the crime groups that are seeking business.
Do you worry that by the British government taking a stronger line with more aggressive enforcement in the channel, that's going to lead to loss of life?
No, I don't, because I think we are there, our obviously duty to preserve life. I don't think any government would allow people to drown. So yes, take a tough line, take tough enforcement action to show people smuggling gangs that we are not prepared to put up with this.
They say they're trying to stop the crossings, but it simply doesn't work. Even in October 16, when they cleared the big jungle camp, they said that would stop people coming, but it simply hasn't. Deterrence doesn't work with refugees because refugees are defined as people fleeing. They're fleeing from things that are so bad, you'll never make their situation here worse. We need another solution, and we really need it now. We believe another solution would be a safe and legal route. We believe that things like people smugglers, they're a symptom, not a cause. They're a symptom of a broken system. The way to fix it is to fix the system. There's a problem here. Asylum is a legal right, and there's no legal way to get to the UK to claim it. If we fix that system, then things will change. But at the moment, nothing is changing. All we're seeing is people who are already traumatised, already brutalised, being further traumatised by our society, and that's not right. That's something we should be ashamed of.
Against the background of Brexit, the language around migration and asylum has become really quite toxic. That makes me really sad, because I think that the UK is a country that has always provided support and help to people when they need it, from the Huguenots arriving and landing in Kent, not far down the coast from here, to the Kinder transport and the Belgian refugees in 1914. I mean, not many people know this, but we're in Folkestone, and in 1914, when Germany invaded Belgium, people were displaced, because that is what happens when there is conflict. And many, many people came across the channel in small boats, just as they're doing now. And on the busiest day in Folkestone, 14,000 people arrived. This is not a crisis for us, it's a crisis for the people in the boats, and we need to be doing our bit.